Friday.
It's Friday, it's review day, it's episode 56. Wow. All right. And hey, I have, oh, I offered to do the quote, so apparently I'm starting the show.
That's right.
Welcome to the Georgie and Patty Show.
I'm Georgie.
And I'm Patty. And wow, right in time, we've got a big truck going by. I don't know if you can hear that or.
Excellent.
We have a quote of the day. What's really interesting for us is when we do these things is that we might not plan, to have a specific theme or something like that, and then it just kind of shows up in the slide deck. The Friday review is really interesting because Georgie put some slides in, I put some slides in, then we come together and we look, oh, what are we look at what we're talking about. There's a thread that runs through it. And our quote of the day is from Steve Jobs. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it, keep looking, don't settle. And that is the quote of the day, the thought of the day, to get us underway.
So true. So good.
So I'm going to drive the slide deck.
All right. I like it.
You drive all the technical equipment and the chat and the chatter and the Zoom and the Facebook, and I'll look after the slides. There we go.
That's
all right.
Perfect.
Okay, so it's Georgie and Patty Show, the weekly review. This is about learning. This is an opportunity to reflect on your past week and figure out what you learned from everything that goes on. Just doing this practice by sharing our learnings with you has provided so much clarity for us, and the permission slip is do it or not, but highly recommend at least trying it out. Definitely very an enlightening thing, and invite you to share your learnings with us. If you've done this, if you've reviewed your week, please share it in the Zoom chat if you're here with us live. Share it on the Facebook if you're here with us on Facebook Live, and share it underneath the video if you're just watching this. So weekly review, and I'll let my partner begin here.
Yes, because I'm giving you another permission slip to really do the work you love. You have permission to do the things that you love to do in the world. You have permission to create the life that you really want. And I think this has shown up for us a lot this week in a number of different scenarios about, the importance of doing the work that you love. So in case you needed it, you now get a permission slip for that. And so my first slide, aside from that one, of course, is that when you look at the things you really love in your life, so that is me at Everest Base Camp, because I love mountains, I love nature, I love Nepal, I love all of those things. But really taking the time to notice, what are the things that I love to do? What are the things that are important to me? What are the things that really matter in my life? And when I look at my work, is there a way that these things can combine? And sometimes it may seem absolutely crazy and ridiculous, and you might not know how that's going to come to be, and that's okay. It's okay to sort of put that how down for a little bit, but I think really start to look at, is the work I'm doing the things I really love to do? And in James Clear, he has this great, usually it is actually a really great little newsletter that he sends out each week, and he had a longer kind of, I don't know if you would even call it a quote, because it's kind of like a paragraph really, but it's this from this thing called The Short Guide to a Happy Life by Anna Quindlen. So I thought I would read it because I thought it was really important and relevant to kind of this theme of doing the work that you love, creating the life that you want, finding that place to actually step in and own your greatness and who you are, and creating things around those things that matter to you. So here goes. There are thousands of people out there with the same degree you have. And when you get a job, there will be thousands of people doing what you want to do for a living. But you are the only person alive who has the sole custody of your life, your particular life, your entire life. Not just your life at a desk or your life on the bus or in a car or at the computer, not just the life of your mind, but the life of your heart. Not just your bank account, but your soul. People don't talk about the soul very much anymore. It's so much easier to write a resume than to craft a spirit. But a resume is cold comfort on a winter night or when you're sad or broke or lonely and when you've gotten back that chest x-ray and it doesn't look so good or when the doctor writes prognosis poor. You cannot be really first rate at your work if your work's all you are. But if you bring what you love into your work, and your work is a part of you and comes from your heart and part of your soul, I believe that's where we start to create meaningful work. And we have full control over being able to do that. So that's kind of been in my mind this week. I've seen it on the mind of our clients this week, in other people I've been talking to. So I just wanted to kind of open up that space for you to take a look, at your heart and your soul and your work and be, is this the thing I really love, or am I trying to fit in someone else's box? And then the next piece that I have also came from James Clear's newsletter this week, where he talks about the cycle of improvement. And the cycle of improvement has 4 components to it. And the first one is awareness. And when he's talking about awareness, he's talking about, you want to identify what it is that you actually want to improve, let's say, in your work. And I think before you can decide what you want to improve, you need to know what your work is. And I think it's really important to know, why are you doing what you're doing? Often we don't spend enough time in that kind of discerning phase of looking at, why am I doing this? Why am I signing up for this program to build a course? Why am I in this challenge to learn how to make videos? Why am I going on this summit? Why am I going to give this talk? Why am I reading this book? Why am I putting this slide deck together? Really taking a moment to go, why am I doing this, really? And am I actually linking it to the big picture of what I want to do with my work? Am I linking it to the big picture of where I want to go? And then, is this the next best step for me to take? So if I'm aware of, okay, yes, I'm in the spot I need to be in right now as I'm continuing to grow my business. So if I'm in level 1, am I doing my level 1 things? And then I can be aware of what might be the thing that I need to do to start working on improving. Maybe it's my sales conversations. Maybe it's reaching out to people. Maybe it's developing my signature talk. Maybe it's figuring out what I'm going to post on social media, how to talk to people, whatever it is. But what is that thing that I know I need to improve right now that's going to help me moving forward with where I'm at? And then the next piece of this is that deliberate practice. So if I know what it is, and then I'm going to focus with very, very conscious effort on a specific area that I want to improve, I need to do that intentionally and deliberately. So if I take the work that we do with our clients, as a lot of you know, a lot of it is based on doing these assessments, providing value to people. There's lots of steps in that process. But maybe my thing is I need to practice my conversations with people to do the invitation. Maybe it's also doing my assessment and not just doing one, oh yeah, I'm great at this, but am I actually taking the time to go, wow, if I actually put some focus here and some practice here to work at improving this, what would that look like? Because the more that I do this, then it's going to lead into the space of this habit. So with this practice that's actually really effortful, I can turn how I do this into almost an automatic thing. Like, what if I showed up at every time I did an assessment with this level of mastery and quality and service, because I've put the time in to actually very intentionally practice it and breaking down my conversation. Let me look at my beginning rapport. How's my rapport building skills? Maybe I need to focus on that for a while. Asking those discovery questions. Maybe I need to focus there for a while. Going through the assessment, transitioning. Maybe my transitions need some work. There's so many pieces that we can break stuff down and really look at. Where is the piece I can very intentionally and deliberately choose to focus on so that when it becomes a habit, it's actually a really quality habit and not just kind of that habit of complacency of like, yeah, I got it. It's fine. It's fine. Because for me, I start to look at, where are those spots in my business, in my life where it's fine and I'm kind of complacent to it. But if I kind of become aware of, if I improve this, even just 1%, what a difference it would make. And then we do it, we repeat, we start again. Okay, what's the next thing? Let me become aware of the next piece I want to improve. Let me intentionally focus there. Let me get it going till it's kind of automatic. And then next, and then next, and then next. So I thought this was just, again, very relevant to kind of what we're talking about, and especially in this awareness piece, because often we can get distracted by these bright, shiny objects or wanting to do things that maybe we're not ready for in our business yet. And so they become a distraction. And because we haven't put the time in to focus on some of these more fundamental pieces and do those in a way that really are solid and we've kind of mastered some of that, our business is a little bit weaker as we start to grow it. So this was kind of the cycle of improvement and how I thought it fit into my learnings for the week. And of course, I'm going, okay, where do I need to focus on? What are some things I can improve? And one super great thing that happened this week was that I actually got to be the client in one of the assessment things for one of our clients this week. And it just happened to be on presentations and slide decks and things like that. And through going through this assessment as a client, I was like, oh, yeah, I need some improvement here and here and here. And so I was like, okay, what am I willing to look at and take on, put some real intentional effort into so that I can give better presentation, so that I can offer better value to people that watch our show, that are in our courses, that are doing, webinars with us. Like, such a great thing. So being really open to some things that show up too is great. So I'm also very grateful for our client this week that enlightened me on some things that I can do to do my work in the world even better. And then the last thing that I learned this week that kind of just appeared, we talk a lot about direct outreach, reaching out to people. How do we reach out to people? What do we say to people? Those kinds of things. So I had 3 examples of direct outreach that were popped up into my world over the last, say, 7-8 days. So one was, I'm going to call this one I didn't invite you into my house, but I came home and there you were. So this is the guy that I get a text message on my cell phone that says, hi, it's Mark from LinkedIn. Do you want to make money if there's a high commission or something like that? So I'm like, who's this guy? So then I respond, hi, Mark. Are we connected on LinkedIn? Because I'm not even sure. His next message was a link. You can make $7,000 a month. I'm like, huh. My response is, well, you kind of didn't answer my first question. And does this marketing actually work for you? And of course, then nothing. So when we get these kinds of messages without, any kind of sort of softening in the beginning, other than, hey, we're connected. Of course, then I'm going, where did he get my phone number? But I'm like, oh, it's on a website. So that's where he got my phone number. Literally, I'm the guy, I just want to kick him, right? I'm be like, get the hell out. This is a really hard no. So we don't want to be this guy, for sure. Don't invade people's space without a little bit, at least knocking on the door first. It's a little bit nicer. Don't just go in there. So this is number 1. Number 2, I have this person also on LinkedIn who he's been messaging me. Hi, how are you? How's it going? Great. Happy Thursday, happy Monday, happy Wednesday. The sun is shining. It's really beautiful out. Totally it is. You know, at one point, probably early, he's like, I'm doing a webinar. I'm like, I'm not interested in what's happening there. Happy Wednesday, happy Thursday. And it feels like this kind of endless road. It's not unpleasant. It's pleasant. I enjoy the little conversations. And when I have a moment, I'll respond. So it's not unpleasant. And it also feels like a never-ending road. Where is this thing going? In my mind, I'm like, nowhere. I'll tell you that, nowhere. And it just keeps meandering, and I'm kind of waiting for what's the next thing, like what's going to happen. But what I find is as these messages keep just literally, happy Monday, happy Friday, very surfacey level kind of pleasantries, my picture of this person that I'm making is kind of going down a little bit, right? I'm thinking, would I do business with them? Probably not. Would I recommend them? Doubtful, because there's no clarity. And I get it, it's scary. And I think this is that space we can often get into when we don't know what to do next, or when it feels uncomfortable to say, I'm reaching out to you because of this reason, kind of having that honesty that goes beyond, hello, how are you? And I get quite a few of these, just, how are you today? And then, how are you today? How's your day today? And they kind of feel like I say, they're not unpleasant, they're fine, but they're not really high on my priority. And I think this comes from that fear place of not knowing how to ask or how to move to the next step. So this one you don't want to do too much either, because it's not going to serve you very well. And then I got a brilliant example of direct outreach. And for this one, this woman, she did the friend request thingy on LinkedIn, but within it, she put, I listened to a podcast that you were on, found you were really inspiring, would love to connect. So instantly I'm like, oh, that's so nice, she listened to me, So then I go check out her profile, and she does some really cool stuff. She's all about, living from your soul and being a divine person of love and making a difference in the world, all those kinds of things. So I'm like, hey, thanks so much for reaching out. Really love what you're doing in the world. I'm feeling there's a commonality there. So send her that message. She responds to me, which I didn't read the response for probably 3 days, but she's like, oh, thanks so much. Your message really made me smile. Really felt great about that. And then she's like, if this works, and if you wouldn't mind, I'm doing this free online art class. If it works, would you mind sharing it with your network? I'm like, absolutely not. I would love to share this. In fact, I'm going to come to this because, I want to learn new things, blah, blah, blah. So I make a little post, I share it on LinkedIn, I sign up for it. She messages me, oh, thank you so much. I see that you signed up for it. This is so great. Looking forward to having you in the class, blah, 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 blah. And I'm feeling like, and then I'm in my mind, I'm like, where else could I share this? I'm going to share it on Facebook. I'm going to tell my friends about it because I like her. I feel like I like her, and I feel like she likes me. Like there's this little, connection-y thing that's happened because it's happened over a span of days. It was super conversational. Oh, and the other thing she did, actually, I forgot about this part, which I thought was really cool, is I had made a comment on someone else's post, and it was actually more like a 4-liner comment instead of just an awesome kind of thing. She took that comment and she made a post out of my comment with tagging me in it. So again, making, I'm like, oh, wow, that's so nice. But it fit with what she does. It's not like it was this weird, totally out of the blue kind of thing. Like it actually made sense for, if I look at her other posts, like it fit what she's all about in the world. So that was the other piece of it too. I believed it. I didn't feel like she did it as a way to just get me to do something. I felt like she actually believed it. So that was the other piece of it. But I wanted to help her. For sure, and now I feel like, oh, we kind of have this connection. So I feel comfortable when I have something to share to be like, hey, if you know anybody in your network and this fits, would you share it? Because I didn't feel pressure from her to share her thing, but I thought she did it was such a great example of direct outreach in a very human centered way to kind of build that connection in a way that worked. And she made an ask, which was totally fine. I didn't feel threatened by her ask. I liked her ask. And she was like, if it works, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too. So then I got to thinking about it, and I went to her profile again, and I looked on it from all the way, because she went and thanked people for sharing her thing. She had about 10 shares of this thing for this class. And my guess is that because of the way that she's connecting with people, and she's finding people that looks like it would be a fit, not, and she does, like, say she does art very different than what I do, but our values were lined up there. And I'm thinking, how genius is this? So she's got 7 people sharing her thing on LinkedIn. So her reach for this event just grew incredibly based on her taking the time to act like a human. So perfect example of how to do direct outreach with someone you do not know in a way that can be effective. And I was happy that I thought about it this week, because I was like, oh, this is a great example of what this could look like from the perspective of someone being reached out to. And so if we spend some time looking for these people that there's connection, and I feel like what I do, there's some similarities, this can be done really, really well. And it might have even happened faster if I had gotten back to hadn't waited 3 days to do the response, but so what? So what if it took a week? Her course thing is next week. It still works really, really brilliantly. And I will remember her is the other piece. I will think about her because we have had real conversation back and forth. And it's not long stuff, it's simple, but perfect example of how you can do this online with someone that you do not know, and what that outcome can look like. So those are kind of my learnings for the week. And I thought, because we talk so much about, direct outreach and reaching out to people and what this can look like, I'm wanting to be more aware of some examples that would be relevant, and the things that work for me. Why do I buy things? Why do I connect with people? What is it about the things that people say and the things that people do that either create this, I want to, like, hope I never hear from you again response, to, oh, how can I help you? I don't know you, but I'll do anything to help you. What's creating that? So just be aware of how things are showing up for you, where you're saying yes and where you're saying no. So those are kind of my learnings for the week.
That is just so cool. I love that that approach of learning from what other people are doing to you, like, what stuff lands and what doesn't, right? And it's like, as you're explaining these 3 situations, I'm like, oh, this is like the Goldilocks of direct outreach, right? One's too fast, one's too slow, and another one's just right.
Yes.
And then there's, when you pull this together, and this is one of the things that people miss out a lot, I think, is that these things are not tactics, they're strategies. It's not one thing. When you look at what she did, there are multiple things that she's done. She's got a process for this, and she's focused. She's found the fact that she connected with you, and when you look at her profile and you go, oh, wow, look, we should be connected because we believe the same things. She knew there would be alignment before she ever reached out to you.
Yes.
So she's not reaching out to anybody and everybody. She's choosing people that she's aligned with. She's giving first. She's connecting first. She's, building the rapport, and she's carrying it further, and she's asking respectfully, and she's saying thank you to people who help her, and she's profiling you first before she asks you to profile her. It's a really, it's strategic, and you can, we often associate the word strategic with it's kind of schemy, a little bit evil, but Being strategic is just smart. She's making a good use of her time and her energy, focusing on people who are likely to respond. And, a synchronized series of events. This is the kind of stuff, she could have like this massive analytical spreadsheet system behind this. She probably does,
Yeah.
right? But super smart. So it's like the frameworks and the structures of strategies are wonderful. And it's all about how it's in the execution. How do you do this? And are you just rushing to the end? Oh, how do I contact 4 million gazillion people and get right to the point and make my offer? Or are you kind of not thinking things through and going, oh, I should reach out to people. Hi, hi, hi. Like, without carrying it forward at all, right? It's just what a what a great example. Really,
Thanks.
really, very, very, very cool. And it's interesting. You're talking about direct outreach. Direct outreach is on my mind this week as well. And I want to point out, because I found myself in this position, so it's like um, there's a difference between data and stories. There's data. We gather data when we do this stuff. And it's like going back to Georgie's example, if this woman was gathering data in her spreadsheet, then she would be like, I reached out to X number of people, Y number of people responded, Z number of people shared. Pure data. It's just data. It's just numbers. But what we do as human beings is we make a story out of that. And we look at that data and we say what? Wow, I'm an awesome connector because everybody I reached out to connected with me. Or how do you know? Maybe she reached out to 100 people and only 7 of you responded. And she's like, oh, 93% of people don't like me. What I'm doing isn't working. I'm bothering people. We build a story into it, and the story is good or it's bad or it's otherwise. But the thing is, when you tell these stories, you're making stuff up. And I find this like really interesting. It's, you have the choice of making up whatever story you want about it, but the data is the data. The story is something else. Now you can learn from the data. Um, you can make different decisions with the data. If she's got 7 people out of 100, she might decide on a different approach. Maybe the dude that's just reaching out and getting no response at all would do well to pay attention to the data and try something different to see if the numbers shift, right? But the story that you can tell yourself when you're going through this is like, oh, I'm being rejected. I'm being ignored. They don't want to hear from me. They don't want to respond to me. That kind of a thing. It's like there's that. We're making up the stories, and it helps to pay attention to, what story you're making up. So that was one of the first, my first learning of the week. This has been my obsession, my absolute obsession. So much so of an obsession that I figured out all kinds of neat PowerPoint functionality in order to make this obsession appear on the screen. This is, I saw this in an article or posted on social media. I wish I could remember where it is because I would just love to kind of bring the original source into this, but it was one of those things that I looked at and I thought, wow, this is really, really awesome. Like, this is really great information, a really interesting perspective of things, and it kept coming back. So to give you some context, this was all about how do we in general move to a less racist society. This was about activism, and it was about how do we get people more on board with this. And what they pointed out in this diagram, I thought was just like super brilliant, is they kind of divided people into groups. And there's people who are actively working for equality. Like, there are people they're the ones out protesting, they're out there making a difference, they are actively working for it. There are people actively working against it, kind of like protesting, the opposite. Spreading information that is the opposite. You've got two sides. When we talk about polarization, this is polarization. Actively for, actively against. And these people are vocal, they're out there, you know who they are, right? Moving into the middle, we've got people that are quietly for. Inside, they are in agreement, but outside, they're not doing anything or saying anything. Ditto for quietly against. As we think about it, sometimes we don't know where people stand because they don't say anything, right? So you've got people that are quietly for, and you've got people that are quietly against. You got some people in the middle that are neutral, have never really thought about it, okay? So here's the mission. How do you get everybody into that green section, right? And what they said, and I was just like, dong, is that when people get newly involved to take action, they immediately go to the people in the red and they take on the people who are actively against. Now, if you've seen some confrontational social media kind of posts where you got people kind of going at it, trying to convince somebody who is completely against it, it's like, it's kind of like, oh, I'm going to make a difference. Who is the most egregiously racist person I know? I'm going to talk to them, right? And this is, we tend to go there. In some ways, it's because those people are obvious and they stand out or whatever, they capture our attention. That they said that the key to making this work is to focus on moving people one space over. And I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. It's if you're moving into this dark green area, you're focusing on the people in the light green area. That's how the change happens, is you kind of move people over one space over. You don't try to get them all the way over into your section. So I'm like, that is really brilliant. I like that. This is where the impact is, because the rest is wasted energy. People are not going to make that huge leap all at once. So it's wasted energy to go for the opposite. And the other thing I noticed about this diagram is it's got this sense of gravity coming down on it too, right? It's easier to bring people down depending on what side they're in. It's way more effort to pull against the gravity and over the hill kind of thing, okay? So I like, what is the marketing implication here? Because there is one. So, and this has been on my mind. It's been in discussion with my clients this week, is when you have this thing that you are doing, especially if it is important to you, if it's a little bit unconventional, if it's different and you are different and you are unique, you have people that are a definite yes. These are your future clients, and we know they're a definite yes because they're your future clients. They are going to say yes. Those are your future clients in this orange space. Over here, we have people who are a definite no. They're not going to buy, not today, not tomorrow, not ever. They are a definite no. They might actively dislike whatever it is that you're doing. They may be against it, right? We've got people that are interested, not yet, not a yes yet, but perhaps a yes at some point. And we have people who are not interested. And we've got people who are indifferent. So where do you focus your marketing? This is a test. Which one of these sections of the pie here do you focus on when you write your marketing messages? When you write your blog posts, when you write your social media posts, when you create a presentation? Where are you going? Who are you focused on, and what are you talking about? What I have noticed over the years of doing this work, although to me, when I look at the pie, the answer seems obvious. Most of the people that I work with see it differently. Anyone care to to take a guess at where we should be focused?
Any ideas in the chat? Let's see. Let's see. Interested. We've got an interested. Yeah. Interested. Another interested. Yeah. They're loving the diagram. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Interested seems to be the consensus.
Interested seems to be the consensus. That's not a bad consensus, okay, to be focused on people that are interested. What I notice with a lot of people is that they tend to focus on the not interested, or the definite no people. And especially when you see your life's work as a mission, when you have a purpose, when you want to make a difference, when you want to change the world, we often look at the people who don't get it, they aren't enlightened, they need to be saved. And we often look at those people first. How do I convince them? How do I persuade them? How do I get them over onto my side? This is how I'm going to make the biggest difference in the world, right? So I've had clients say, how do I write a blog post to address my skeptics? How do I put my work out there in a way that my critics will buy into it? How do I convince people that my way, this way of alternative healing is better than conventional medicine? How do I convince people, right? How do I convince people? How do I persuade them? How do I bring them over here? And here's the thing about marketing, okay? There's only one place in here for you to focus your message. These guys, they're your future clients. They're going to say yes. And they're with you. They're into what you do. They want it. They need it. They'll pay for it. Now, here's the thing: you write with those people in mind. This is why if you're looking for an ideal client avatar in order to write your next marketing piece towards, pick your favorite client and write that article for them. It's because what happens is when you write to the definite yes kind of people, the people who are interested kind of eavesdrop. They listen in. They're the next wedge over, and they're paying attention. But you're pulling them. This idea of the magneticness, is you're pulling them from interested to yes, but you're sending the message out to the people who are already in agreement with you. This perspective can change everything for you if you let it. So that's my new this is my new diagram. I love this diagram. I love the gravity. It's like, because when you push on people that's not interested, they turn to a different no. That's what happens. They go, you keep talking about it. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna write you a bad review. I'm gonna tell all my friends you're an asshole. It's like, that's, you push in that direction and it goes down instead of over. So speak to the yeses, draw the interested. And as the interested move into the definite yes, they're in touch with the indifferent. It's like the whole thing does move over, but it moves over one section at a time. And in terms of marketing, this definite no is never going to move over. Sorry, not in your lifetime. Next up, just kind of furthering this idea in terms of the marketing messaging, is who are those people that say yes? Who are they? Who are they? And they're going to be the people who believe what you believe. They're going to be the people who share your values. They're going to be the people who like your personality. They're going to be the people that are open to what you are selling. They might be excited about it. These are your people, and to hold these people in mind when you're putting your marketing out there, and to think about them. When you sit down to write something or to share something with your audience, picture the yeses. Write it for them. And a question to reflect on here, because I often find this, especially people who've been advised to do things like market research and to find out what people are willing to buy and all of this. It's, Are you looking for the clients that you actually want, your ideal clients, the ones you would love to work with? Or are you focused on the clients you think you can get? I'll leave that as a reflection question for you in terms of thinking about your business. When we say things like ideal clients, they are the ones that you want, not the ones you feel you have to settle for. And with that, does anyone want to share what they learned this week?
So good. I'm gonna back up this chat here. So here we had, we knew someone had to leave early today, so she wanted to post her learnings, which are, she will watch the whole show later. She started doing weekly reviews on Sunday evenings. And last week she learned that people would agree to amp up sessions if I just asked. And that learning continued this week. It's amazing what happens when we're willing to just ask. She also learned how much fun it is doing an amp up session. So her assessment of the memorability of presentation. How fun is that, right? And I think this goes back to that space of doing work that you love. Because when we do work that we love, these assessments, these interactions with people, they're fun. Like we look forward to it. It's like, I'm doing the thing I feel like I was meant to do. This is my life's work. Of course it's fun when we get to do it. Here we go. I love how you don't try to sugarcoat negatives, and that makes the positive shine all the more authentically, if that makes sense. Totally. Data and story differences. Good points. Oh, there's some really good stuff in here. Love in the diagram. So good, so good, so good, so good. Very cool, very cool. Yeah, it's nice to do the reviews, of the week. And sometimes when you think you sit there and you're like, I don't know what I learned this week. But by knowing that you're going to review each week, I think you start looking for more of what those learnings are. And the more we're aware of the learnings, the more we can start to integrate new things and look for new possibilities and ways of doing things and moving forward. Like I think it opens up that creative space in your brain. I was listening to a talk yesterday or day before or something anyway, about how, we get so used to the habits of the things that we do, right? We get up on the same side of the bed, we brush our teeth in the same way. We typically, like, our morning routine is the same. I make my coffee the same way. So our brain gets really kind of set into that thing, and we can actually open up more creativity and possibility by doing things we don't normally do. So like starting to review your week every week. It's a great thing to kind of stretch your brain, get up on the other side of the bed. I keep saying I'm going to do that and I forget because I'm so used to getting up on the same side of the bed every day. So maybe next week I'll remember. But what kind of things can we do to kind of shift that up so that we do get more learnings, more possibility, more creativity? It's so cool.
Yeah. We have comments in here too, which is interesting. I'm not going to read it because it's private, but the idea, like when we make up the stories, is to remind ourselves that we are nothing but a bit player in other people's lives, right? They have their own stories going on and their own, we pop in for this short amount of time, in and out, right? It's like Georgie had this great conversation with this LinkedIn person, right? Lots of back and forth, shared the stuff, shared the event, signed up for the event, lots of interaction, and it's a lot. And it's a wee little blip in Georgie's week.
Exactly.
Even if they spent 20 minutes back and forth and felt like they really made a connection, that's a teeny tiny little segment of Georgie's life. If nothing happens from this going on, 2 years from now, Georgie won't even remember the person or the interaction. It's like, this is the role that we play, is we play this little role in someone else's life, and they have their whole hero's journey going on. They have their entire life, and the stuff that's top of mind for them and what they're working on and what they're doing and what's happening with them and what they're interested in. And we just kind of flit in for a second. And it, from our perspective, it's all about us. But from theirs, there's all kinds of stories that can be going on. And the stories we tell ourselves often, kind of like, oh, what did I do? It's all about me. And it's like, yeah, you know what? Probably 99.9% chance that it's not about you at all.
Exactly.
And I know, like, there are times where I don't respond to emails. And it's not because I don't want to or I don't mean to. It's just simply other emails come down on top of them and they get buried in my inbox. It's part of, what we talk to our clients about. How often should I follow up? Follow up until someone tells you no, because a lot of times it's not intentional that they're not responding. It's just time. It's working on other stuff, it's, yeah.
Yeah, we don't know what's happening in other people's lives either. So it's that just continuing to be there, not in the I want to kick you out of my house kind of way, but in that, nice human connected sort of way. Is really,
I think,
really
like it's like looking at the stories we can tell because we're making it up, right? I can tell the story, oh, people don't want to hear from me. They don't want to respond to me. I'm asking for too much. I'm being intrusive. I'm being rejected. I'm being ignored. I can say that. Or I can say, oh, they must be busy. They must have stuff going on. They must not have time for this. Like, I'm making it up. Either way.
Exactly. And it's such a cool spot if you can get to that place where you start to realize the stories that you're making up, or at least the things that you're saying to yourself that could be stopping you from taking action, or where you're making up a story based on your interpretation of this other person, and it's creating some conflict or creating some resistance, and it's really only coming from your own story that you're making that's based on past stuff and all kinds of other things. But if you can start to recognize these stories that you're making up and catch them, such a huge difference. Like, and not easy. But the more you can recognize them and kind of sort of say them to yourself, oh, isn't that interesting? Look at this story I'm making up right now. Mm-hmm. I'm making a story that they must think I'm this or I'm that, or they don't want to hear what I have to say, or they're not interested in talking to me. They hate me, like.
Oh, I know. Did I do something? Did I do something to piss them off?
Yeah, exactly. And often we're making up these stories while someone's right in front of us and we're having a conversation. And this is where we start to feel these disconnections with people as well, because it's like, oh, they don't really like what I had to say. They think I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, all of these things start happening. And they're just stories that we are making up. Yep. And being able to recognize those, woo, what a difference. And not easy. Not easy. Work, right? It's work. These things, right? Is if I improve this one area of my life, would it make a difference for me? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And intentional practice, deliberate action.
Oh, yeah.
Work. Like, big work. Anything that's where we're working, like that internal space. Big work.
It's all there, right? Like, all of it is there. It's this. I often look at the work that Georgie and I do together, and I'm like, my part of this is easy. Like, the strategies, the words, the plans, here's what you do. This is, that part is not that difficult. It's got a learning curve for sure. You need to figure some stuff out. You need to learn a few things and practice and gain some skills. But it's the personal, internal crap that makes it hard. There's nothing about it that is difficult. Like, really, if you take the internal crap away.
Exactly. If you can just shut that mind down. Sounds so easy, right? Just master your mind. No big deal. Just do it.
But it's like sales and marketing. It's just easy, right? send out invitations, call people, talk to them, ask them to buy, collect the money, do the work, repeat.
Yeah.
Not that hard.
Exactly. No big deal. Piece of cake.
It's no big deal, right? Until
Take your brain out of it, it'll be fine.
well, the unhelpful part, right?
Exactly. Retrain it. So true here in the chat. That's how anxiety starts to kick in. Imagine it's all about you. And our story gets bigger and bigger and bigger and spirals and spirals and spirals till we're so worked up about something that we can't, that then becomes actual truth and fact. And then we get a bit paralyzed. Let's see, we've got some more chat comments. I love the comments. I've been very aware of habits I reinforce because I'm bored or procrastinating. Online games especially. Yes. I've also created a better mind space by accomplishing tasks I procrastinated on. It's nice to not have so much on my plate because I was starting to notice small signs of burnout. So good. And you're just, you're repeating that cycle. You're starting to create that space. Oh, I know when I do the task of something I've been procrastinating on, oh, look how I feel. I'll put more effort there, and keep doing that because you feel better. So good. So good. Yeah, it's just not the shortcut. I think we're often looking for the shortcut and the quick road and how can I do this faster? And the reality is most times when it comes to this internal kind of work, it's a process. We've been running these patterns and these habits for a very, very, very long time. And it takes this deliberate, focused attention to recognize, oh, here it comes again. Oh, there's that pattern again. What I'm going to do with this one? Which one do I want to work on today? Like I said, I have a list of all of them. I have to pick one, that I work on one at a time, and it's not easy, but it's worth it. And recognition, that awareness is so key. And celebrating, like I hope that you're celebrating the fact that, oh, wow, I see that I am in a better mind space now. I see that when I do this, this is working for me. It's starting to create something I like in my life. I recommend celebrating with cake really as often as possible, or stars. Gold stars are great too. While eating cake. So good. Yeah, the stars, so good. Like how do we celebrate where we're going to? I love this comment here too. Yeah, it may be off topic, but experts say apparently we spend most of our time having delusions, imagining what's not true. 100%.
Yep.
I think we're just, we were more biased towards like the negative thing. So we start to spin that, and we're totally making things up, right? We're either sitting in our past, remembering stuff that happened there, or we're future predicting stuff that's not even happened yet, and creating stuff. And if we can this has come up a lot this week too, right? Come back to present, to right now. What is the truth of where I am in this moment right now? The actual facts, without my own opinions, belief, made up things, illusions, delusions that I'm creating. What is just the data? Let me just look at the data of right now. And then recognize where I'm putting my own stories on it, my own narratives that are running. And yeah, we do spend the majority of our time in that space. And it stops us. Like I say, that's the work, is really learning to gain control of, our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, the places that we're coming from on the inside. What are those beliefs I'm running, those patterns I'm running, stories, the narratives, and recognizing those, putting kind of a voice to them, bringing them into the light so then I can do something with it. Yeah. Yeah, great comments. Really good comments.
All right. Hey. We
have
a couple minutes to talk about next week.
Yes, fair figure. forgot my wand's over there. I don't even have it. Damn.
So we're how do we say this? We're kind of
We're
cool kids.
adulting.
We're adulting. No, the cool kids would say that we're rebranding or
Oh
something
yeah.
like that. But we are making some changes, and we're going to have kind of a big reveal on Monday.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be exciting.
Yes, we are refreshing. So
Yes.
there will be some. Uh, I don't want to say they're radical changes, but there will be
No.
some changes coming up next week. But for the better, we think. Um, and yeah, so oh, we totally need cake.
We totally need cake.
We
Yes.
absolutely need.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we absolutely need some cake in order to celebrate. But it's going to be an interesting. Um, it's going to be an interesting path forward.
Yeah.
So to give you a clue, we have topics for next week. Monday.
You do?
Monday's going to be a surprise. George is going to surprise us. Wednesday, we're going to talk about personality, your personality and your clients' personalities and the things that make you unique and special and different, and some thoughts behind how to leverage that. And Friday we'll do our regular review, but Monday's going to be a little bit of an unveiling, and also I think you were going to talk about habits or something like that.
I was, and I think I want to change my mind.
Oh, excellent!
That's why I don't want to fully commit to it, because I'm really loving this space of, you know, really doing the things you love. Like, how do we look at that, and what are the things we can do to support that? So I will talk a little bit about habits, and you know, I'm having a change, a little bit of change of mind of how to tie that all together. But it's definitely going to be some action taking steps in there for you for Monday, because it is Motivation Monday, and just seems like a good day of the week to eat cake and take action.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So with that, oh, solstice! Yes, it is a solstice. Awesome. So have a fabulous weekend. We look forward to seeing you back here on Monday. Same bat time.
Same bad channel.
Bye now.
Bye.